YouTube, we're back. Dominick and Tony, post-class. We're going to do a follow-up of a written article by Sifu Nick Faruqi of Ballistic Fighting Methods out here in Chicago. Sifu Nick is a good friend, and he teaches Jeet Kune in the Chicago area. And if you've been following my posts, following my opinions, everyone knows my stance and opinion on Jeet Kune, more specifically Bruce Lee. I will preface this by saying I was never a Bruce Lee fan growing up. He did not influence me. There's an article on my website, izzotacticalcombat.com, that will give you my detailed analysis as far as what I think Bruce Lee's contributions to martial arts was. I think he was an extremely charismatic man, very, very good salesman. I don't think that his knowledge of Wing Chun was as in-depth as it should have been in order for him to make the statements that, you know, Wing Chun does not work, or it's only good in a bathroom or whatnot. And that snowballed into my opinions that you always see online. Friday night, Nick and I went back and forth, and when we do this quite a bit. We always go back and forth about, you know, Jeet Kune this, Wing Chun this, and we're always digging each other's in the ribs a little bit, you know, and giving each other the friendly, you know, you're this and you're that. Well, we decided to actually sit there and put up and shut up and put up. So Nick invited me out to his studio on Friday night. I got there at 9 o'clock. We both left at 12:30. So we spent a lot of time talking about our arts together. Nick wrote a great article, and it's on my Facebook page, and it's also on the Izzo Tactical Combat Facebook page. Bottom line, I loved what he wrote, and I'm very appreciative. I will thank you publicly, Nick. Thank you so much, number one, for having me out there, being as open-minded as you are, and then putting what I thought, to be honest, was a very, very glowing portrayal of my Wing Chun, and I really can't thank you enough for that. That said, Nick is skilled. You'll hear me rant a lot about how I don't think that people who are non-law enforcement personnel should be teaching law enforcement, and I've said that about Nick. Nick is not law enforcement. He should not be teaching law enforcement. I hold true on that stance, but Nick is one of those guys who dives in and researches the living shit out of everything. So if anybody's qualified to kind of do some stuff, it is Nick. The man, he truly, truly takes passion in whatever his focus is, and he researches. So we got together. And I have to do my side of this for one reason. I got more hate mail emails from the Wing Chun guys going, oh my God, you said what? And oh my gosh, what? Love me, hate me, like my opinions, don't like my opinions. If you guys can't tell, I like to stir the pot for a reason. It gets us thinking. None of us, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, JKD, Wing Chun, Krav Maga, none of us will ever be able to truly test or put to combat use our martial arts, and I hope none of us gets to. So if the next best thing is that we wind up having verbal, passionate debates and arguments, great. My job is to stir things up so that you challenge me, because I want the challenges. I don't want everybody to agree with me. I want people to come to me, with me, at me with their opinions. I respect everyone's opinions. But for those of you who decide to sit there and inbox me on Facebook or my email and then block me, bravo. You're not going to get that challenge back. I want your challenges. I want you to tell me I'm wrong, and I want you to show me your side of something so I can learn. That's the reason for all this. Without your opinions back, I don't get to learn. So understand my intent. So I walked in Nick's studio and we started talking, and Nick took a sentence I said, and it hit him, but there's context to it. I said, you're right, your analysis of Wing Chun is garbage. Nick and Light Burley both got bad Wing Chun exposure. And unfortunately, for the most part, a lot of Wing Chun out there is bad. And I'm going to get into why it is. I've said it before, I think that Wing Chun has become a chi sao culture. If you take in mind what Wing Chun is, it is a killing and maiming combat martial art. No sporting applications. So to nip this right in the bud, when somebody keeps saying, why can't you take Wing Chun into the MMA and put it to use there? I don't understand what part of killing and maiming you're not getting, because that requires a mindset that not a lot of people have. What you see on YouTube is fun, conceptual Wing Chun. You guys will never see my Wing Chun. My Wing Chun is hell and chaos personified. Told you, Syed, my teacher, who is an incredible fighter, is a surgical sniper rifle. I'm an atomic bomb dropped in the path of everything that is meant to be killed. That's my Wing Chun. I can never show that. I don't ever want it released. I don't ever want it out there. All right? If we look at Wing Chun, it is supposed to be simple, fast, and devastating. The two parts that most, or the one part that most of us get is the fast. Simple, we overcomplicate everything. Everything in Wing Chun has become a series of movements to get the job done. If Tony throws a punch at me, throw a right punch, it is 1, 2, 3. We concentrate on 3 movements, punch, to look really good and flashy. That's not Wing Chun. Okay? Wing Chun, watered down, is garbage. We become a chi sao culture. We become, hey, you know what, I have the secret sauce and I know what's going on and only Ip Man's lineage taught me this. There's no secrets in Wing Chun. None. It is about being simple and devastating. One of the great things that Nick got into, and he introduced me to this on his timeline. Again, everything with me is simple. Ed Cruz and Ken from Windy City Wing Chun, they are like they dissect Wing Chun, and their concept is dig deeper. I mean, Ed is so beautiful in his analysis of what's going on. He'll tell you why this knuckle has to match up one vertebrae and then your big toe on your other foot in order to get that energy. And he can do that. And the man has skill and talent. That's not me. I can't. I am all about what's going to work, what's the job done, get it over with. So keep in mind, there are people out there who can bridge the gap between truly understanding the science behind it, the physics behind it. That's great. Go to Ed for that. Go to Ken for that. Watch their videos. Those guys are just amazing. I want the brute killing force of Wing Chun. Nick and I talked about what makes Wing Chun look bad, and it's also ironically what Light and I experienced. When Light and I chi sao for the first time, what he was used to is we linked up this distance. He saw how most people will bridge their gap from wrist to wrist. When Light and I linked up, I was already in deep in here. And he saw that. Nick and I saw the same thing. Nick had called it before the movement, middle of the movement, end of the movement. I call it infancy, adolescence, adult. And you've heard me say that in other videos. If Tony throws a hook punch, you have infancy, adolescence, adult. And we both agreed on what the first movement in Wing Chun is that for most schools that I've seen, that punch comes in and you deal with it at the tail end of the punch. And that's what Nick had seen. Nick's translation of intercepting, you know, the Jeet Kune intercepting fist, is that he punches and he's already in based on that movement's coming up. I said that's exactly what Wing Chun is. You know, if Tony gets an aggressive stance, I'm already in there. Once he does any kind of movements, we go in. So we both agree on that the same. The other thing I said in this is that Wing Chun has no footwork. It doesn't. It has drills to do footworks. Okay? When we punch, the punch is modeled after a snake, right? A snake's head darts forward. So if my hand is here and Tony throws back a punch, I'm darting forward. If my hand is low, or it's here, and a snake, so here's a snake. The snake doesn't come back to center and then hit forward. The snake hits out of no matter where it's at. The head goes forward. But we train to understand, conceptualize, and drill in forwarding energy. Same thing with footwork. So we have Buma, arrow stepping, circle stepping, triangle stepping, shifting, all this stuff. Compass stepping, stepping backwards to go forwards, all this stuff. What I meant when I said was Wing Chun has no footwork is you cannot think about that in a fight. 70-30, 50-50, 80-20, 110, or 100-0, I don't care. Do you have balance? Does that balance support whatever punch you're putting into somebody? Are you moving with balance? Once you stop moving, do you have balance? And are you in a position to fire your punch again with balance? That's all I care about in Wing Chun. Balance. Tony punches, I don't care what footwork I use. When I have to move again, I don't care what footwork I use. Tony punches again, I don't care what footwork I use. Okay? It's all about getting in there. Okay? It's all about actually closing the gap on there. The other thing is closing the gap. Far too many videos you see this: punch in straight, deal with it, punch again, deal with it, coming in. Your first movement has got to be a strike. Punch, I don't care where it's at. Punch and strike. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, if Tony punches straight in on me, Well, I have something to deal with it. And this is how Wing Chun people train, right? To deal with that straight punch, because anything along these lines outside of that is a little bit more difficult to deal with in chaos. So, you know, Tony, when we do videos, we don't rehearse things. I don't know where he's gonna punch. Punch? I don't care. You've got to come in with that punch first. That's got to be your first movement and coming in. I think what's different about me that Nick saw is that I'm willing to take a hit to get in. Good, bad, smart, dumb, indifferent. I'm more willing to risk when Tony hits to dissipate that punch so it doesn't do damage to me and take the energy out of that. Versus you punch, deal with this. I don't want to deal with the tail end of the movement. Shifting, stepping, they're not mutually exclusive. They go together no matter where you're at. Nick is 6'2", about 220, 230. He's a big man. And if I was able to impress him with energy, then that's fantastic. That's saying something for me. But what I also think that is different is that you have Yin and Yang concepts. And a lot of us think in Wing Chun that it was created by a woman so that you could use softer energy to overcome harder energy. Personally, I just don't agree. You know, being a cop and working in 4 a.m. bars for all I did, I've never seen any yin in a fight. It's all yang. If you think that when you throw a punch straight in, the other hand please, you're going to dissipate that energy, no, it's not going to happen. I think that what we need to concentrate in a fight is the level of aggression you are putting into it. How a smaller person overcomes a larger person is with superior aggression, violence, and chaos that is unmatched. Your structure and physical training back that up. An arm, you know, Nick, again, you have a 6'2" guy. Nick had superior reach. You know, he's throwing out Bill G, eye jabs. For Tony to throw out an eye jab for me, I'm not worried about that because I can still get him. And I don't kick. I'm not a kicker, okay? But if I wanted to with this distance, I can kick that. So with Nick, you got this 12-foot arm coming at me. I have to close the distance without kicking and keeping footwork. And we talked about that eye jab's so damn dangerous for taller people going to smaller people. Okay? He had a brilliant kick. And Nick, if you can explain this one, where he led in with the knee first and came straight in. You have 230 pounds with the knee coming in straight on mass into you. What, are you going to sidestep it? You're gonna gonsow and get out of the way of that? No, you better attack in first with that knees coming in, hit some vital targets, and unleash hell so that you can unbalance him. That is, in my opinion, the only way that you can wind up dealing with somebody bigger, stronger, faster. Okay? I think that what happened with my issue with Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune is the fact that you had Bruce Lee, who was a physical anomaly, and 2-finger push-ups. I mean, the guy was, Nick was telling me about how he was told by Dan Inosanto that we've all seen him kick that heavy bag with the side kick, but over time he worked on getting to the point where his launching point was 8 feet away from the bag. That is amazing. That's a physical anomaly. So for him to say the Wing Chun has no long game, he didn't need one. We say that, you know, we've heard people say that Bruce Lee's first hand movement was incredible. So the first hand movement is Tony and I are squared up, boom, that's it, first hand movement, done. So if Bruce Lee was that good at it, great, he didn't need a second and third and fourth movement. The second, third, fourth movements are, if I punch and Tony pox out, now I have to go to my second movement, stop it, my third movement, my fourth movement, and you wind up continuing and going on, okay? That's your movement. Well, if Bruce was so good at his first movement and he didn't have to go to second, third, fourth, then he didn't develop those. So if by some chance in his one fight that he wound up losing with, was it Wang Jackman, then his second, third movements were challenged, of course he's going to give up. Oh, it doesn't work. Because he never had to study them. It's like a guy being 6'5", 400 pounds, walking in here going, I want to fight. Okay, do I think my Wing Chun's going to work against an aggressive man, 6'4", 400 pounds, who knows how to fight? I really don't want to find out. I'm going to go leave out the back door. He doesn't need Wing Chun. But if somebody else his size walks in with that, he's going to need it. Does that make sense? You took a kid who was in his early 20s, his brain hadn't fully developed, he's full of testosterone, piss and vinegar, wants to take on the world, challenge everybody. If Bruce Lee had lived to be in his late 30s, 40s, 50s, he probably would have seen things a lot differently. Okay? That's my whole argument. And the mess he left behind was the fact that he created something so damn similar to Wing Chun. What I love about Nick's Jeet Kune Do is, I don't think he should be calling it Jeet Kune Do. because I saw no similarity between any of the Jun Fan people or any of the Jeet Kune Do I've seen before. There was no stance. There was no typical regular movements like you've seen anybody else. The other guys I've experienced from Jeet Kune Do are all, they look the same. They do the same movements. They look like they're Bruce Lee. And that's my argument with it. Nick looked like Nick. And he had his own specific game. So if we go back to the original argument of, is Jeet Kune Do a system or a concept? If Jeet Kune Do is purely a concept, then I think Nick knows what he's doing because he has the idea of make it his, and he did that very successfully. So I'm going to clarify a couple of points in there. I know I upset some of you guys. Great. This is my Wing Chun, it's not your Wing Chun. We all follow the same concepts. Hit hard, hit first, end the fight as aggressively as possible. Center line facing, all this stuff. What you choose to do, you choose to do. You heard me say I don't kick. Guess what? Because I don't feel comfortable doing it. Nick also put in the article that I admittedly don't defend my lower gate. Absolutely right. Having a wrestling background as strong as I do, I don't feel the need to. I feel very comfortable not having to defend my lower gate. But I teach my students who are non-wrestling how to defend the lower gate. So again, now you have a standardized Wing Chun that is not standardized. It is all going back to the concepts involved in being delved out to the individual. Is Wing Chun garbage? It's becoming garbage. It truly is. Wing Chun is war. And it is not patty cake. It is not energetics. It is not sensitivity. It is so unfortunate how you do get people who have Wing Chun that think that we go again, you know, you punch and look, here's my tanda and my strike, punch again in this, and you wind up doing all these movements. They don't understand that behind this is the mass of this. And if you are not dealing with this, then you're never going to be able to deal with a fight at all. Your Wing Chun has to be accompanied by a ruthless, killing, aggressive mindset. And if that is not Kung Fu and enlightening for you, and if you would disagree with my viewpoints, then the martial art you are looking for is any martial art out there that's going to give you zen and peace of mind and internal harmony. You can get that from Wing Chun. I do get that from Wing Chun. It's very beneficial to my outside life. But I do know that the physical side of it has no yin. There's no soft. At least I'm not proficient enough to deal with hard incoming energy like a bull and a matador incoming soft. If Tony punches left coming in, you'll never see me do this to go this. Tony punches coming in, you will see me crashing to go in. I want my whole body weight to step in at the same time he punches and crashing and hitting everything. I want to destroy his arm, his elbow, his face, everything. And I will not let up. I will be relentless on top of that. That's what Wing Chun is. That's your first movement. Anything else after that should be destruction times 10. We had a great time. Nick introduced me to some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. As strong as a wrestling background I have, I don't have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. He had great concepts, great ideas. I thought it was fantastic. Nick's fighting ability is good. It is so damn good, and I love it because he has the mindset to accompany with it. I thought we had a great exchange. I want to stand by his analysis of what we had on. I thought it was great. He did introduce me to Hubud, which was great, because I had always said Hubud is just a series of movements over and over and over again. No, his concept is right. When we roll, it's a series of movements, right? It's a repeated movement until we decide to change energy. Hubud was the same thing the way he did it. He just started off with 3 movements, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, until it transitioned into the actual fighting. So as far as I'm concerned, his method of Hubud and our Chisao are the same thing. So I thought that was great. Again, so if you guys are looking around as far as you, again, comment, disagree with me. I'm going to let all comments go on this one like I do, but I'm not going to return comments on this. I'm going to let this be an open forum, and you guys can go and have at it. But I think the way Wing Chun is heading, if your mindset is not to get the job done in the most violent means possible, you're not doing Wing Chun. If you're going into class, you punch, look at this, punch again, punch, 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 I got my energy, punch. If you're doing all of this, okay, great. You've got to accompany the mindset with that everything you do, punch, I'm inching forward, inching forward, inching forward, is that kill shot to put your body weight and mass behind it. One hit, end them as soon as possible. So maybe that's the difference between what, I definitely know that Nick and I are on the same page with that. So that was my Jeet Kune Do as far as how Nick's is different than everyone else's. and hopefully mine is too. So again, my goal is not to offend anyone, but I think that we overcomplicate things. Wing Chun is simple. It's so simple. It shouldn't be the 90-10, shifting. I step into somebody to cover my groin. Just step. Get the job done. Get in there, hit as hard as friggingly possible with your balance. Doesn't matter if you use Buma, circle step, arrow stepping, compass stepping. Get in, hit them with everything you have, and then are you in a position to hit them again if need be? It is fast, and we all have the fast. We want to be as fast as possible. You don't have power behind those hits, fast as nothing. It truly isn't. You should be just an Abrams tank rolling over somebody at Ferrari speed. And Jin, go talk to Jin about that. He'll give you a great analysis and a breakdown for speed versus power. And then devastating. If you do not have the mindset of devastating, then your Wing Chun is going to get run over. I respect those that can wind up doing the soft versus hard. That's great. You know what? I've been doing Wing Chun for coming up on 15 years now, and maybe my journey still has a way to go. And in 10 years from now, I may do another video that says I can absolutely Tony punches, punch again, punch again. Oh, I can make that happen with the most aggressive guy in the world. Maybe that's where my journey's headed. But for this date and time right now, my Wing Chun is just, like I said, it has got to destroy everything in its path. So your combat mindset has got to be there. Great article by Nick Faruqi, Ballistic Fighting Methods out in the Chicago area. Take a look at him. I've said it before, and I mean no insult by this. I truly don't. And take this as a challenge. Take this as whatever you guys want to do. I have no problem getting knocked out on camera, choked out on camera. 236 East Irving Park Road. If there are Jeet Kune people out there and other Wing Chun people who want to come out here, openly I say this. I say that there's certain lineages that I disagree with. Everyone knows that Sifu Philip Redman and I love Philip Redman. And here's a shout out to Anthony Iglesias. How are you, brother? Good to see you. Those two, we started off on the wrong foot because I don't like the William Chung lineage. But with private conversations with both of them, they make it theirs. They truly do. I have said before, I don't like the Lung Ting lineage. But I can guarantee you that if Steve Chan, who was part of that lineage from Chicago, came down to the studio, it'd probably be a bad day for me. Why? Because they're individuals who make the art theirs. I just think we're losing something in the whole, my Sifu says this and only this. And that's the biggest argument I have with Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do, is the people who say, well, Ip Man said this. Look at the video. The guy was 70-something years old, and it was 2 weeks before his deathbed. And we all think that whatever he put on video, not to disrespect him, was his Wing Chun. If he had cancer, we don't know how that affected his brain. If he truly did have a problem teaching non-Chinese people, maybe he was worried that that video would get out somewhere, and maybe he put stuff on that video incorrectly. We don't know. So I have a problem with people who say that Ip Man meant this. And I have a problem with people who say that, well, Bruce meant this. If you're in your 30s and you're saying Bruce meant this, you automatically are discredited because you weren't even alive when he was born, when he was around, okay? We don't know what they meant. What do you mean? What's your interpretation? That's what I love about Nick. Nick sits there and he has his own interpretation. It's as simple as that. He doesn't play follow the guru. And to be 100% honest, neither do I. So I'm not very political in a Wing Chun. People know this. I think that there's a bunch of amazing people out there. I will tell you who that I think is amazing. I'll tell you who I think is, less than par. But they're my opinions. Don't be swayed by my opinions. Get off your ass, pressure test your own things, and figure it out for yourself. So I appreciate all the comments, all the feedbacks. They love mail, they hate mail. Guys, keep them coming. It's completely great. I know this is long-winded, but test your stuff out, guys. I'm a 5'7" man. I weigh 170 pounds. Nick, 6'2", 200 plus pounds. What would it be if Tony and I are the same height and Tony had the same amount of time in Jeet Kune Do as I do? Then what would have happened? Don't know. What if I was as big as Nick was and I was able to sit there and take him? We have no idea. I do what I can with what I can, and so did Nick, and both of us had a great time doing it. So we're probably going to film a lot more. Him and I will do more discussions on video, and we have a lot more stuff coming up to the channel, but I wanted to give you my detailed analysis. My whole thing on Wing Chun is garbage. It's heading in that direction. Go back to your roots. Go back to what it was. Wing Chun has no footwork. No, just move. Just like Wing Chun just has one punch, punch. I don't care how many Tan styles Wing Chun has. I don't care how many Pak styles, how many moons it has. The idea is just to attack. Just to attack. You train so much so that you just get the job done when you need it. You got a toolbox full of stuff. You got a building to fix. I don't think, oh, I'm going to take out my screwdriver to go do X, Y, and Z. I just go to the next project that needs to get done, and if I need a screwdriver, I grab it out of there. Same thing. I do what I have to do, and I find out what has to be done in the next project. It's as simple as that. You guys, we are overcomplicating Wing Chun. So that's that. Thank you so much. Have fun with the video. I really appreciate your comments. I want to know what you guys think about this. And just thank you. Thank you for supporting my opinions. Thank you for challenging my opinions. I say this all the time, guys. Without you, there's no point to all this. So we'll see you on the next couple of videos.